Part 164. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1636. I'm not. I don't. This little dragon has nothing to do with me. I didn't do it secretly behind your back. Gretel was speechless for a moment, his thoughts racing around. All kinds of excuses ran through his mind quickly. However, no matter which one he said, it sounded like it was getting darker and darker. This, Cyrilla, he stammered. I can explain. However, Cyrilla no longer listened to his explanation. The silver dragon girl rushed forward like a whirlwind, bent down to pick up the little dragon, and hugged her into her arms. Touch from head to toes, from feet to head. Ah! So cute. So cute, so cute, so cute. Such a small figure. Such smooth scales. Such exquisite dragon horns. Greet, you made it especially for me, right? I didn't make it out just for you to masturbate. Gretel opened his mouth and then closed it. Seeing Cyrilla hugging the silver dragon, which was about the same size as a cat, and fondling it back and forth, she shuddered silently. It seems that when she failed in her first attempt at transformation and turned into a confused silver dragon, Cyrilla hugged her happily and touched her back and forth. So he found a substitute for Cyrilla to play with? Oh, Greet, is this changed to look like you? No, it's just like you, Cyrilla. Gretel really wanted to say this, but before she could speak, she quickly bit her tongue hard. This dragon is a male dragon. It's a male dragon. When he used the cloning technique to simulate the dragonet, he used the Y chromosome from Vasquez's records to replace Cyrilla's X chromosome. This, Cyrilla. Mage Nordmark? Mage Nordmark? Have you completed your advancement? Is it convenient for the guests to come and visit? At the critical moment, the tower spirit shouted and rescued Gretel in time. Gretel wiped the non-existent cold sweat on his forehead and answered loudly. It's done. Invite them in. No, I'll go down. I'll go down immediately. This is the dragon's nest. It's Cyrilla's dragon lair. Cyrilla's bed of gold coins, the silver coins mixed in the pile of gold coins, the jewelry box she used as a pillow, and various gold plates and silver bowls mixed in with the gold coins, were all spread out on the ground. No one is allowed to step into this place. Dragons can't do it, and humans can't do it either. No one can. Greet ran towards the entrance in a panic. While running, he shook his collar and cuffs. When he was meditating here just now, although he didn't roll around on the floor, there wasn't a gold coin suddenly stuck in the gap in his clothes, or there was a gem stuck in it. By the way, there are also soles, you don't have to worry about the shoes. Let alone a gold coin, even a half-carat diamond can be so bruised that you can't walk, and you have to take off the shoes and pour them out. However, if you stick a gold coin on the sole of your shoe, you won't feel it at all. He can't do such a thing. Before leaving the dragon's nest, any copper coins contaminated from the dragon's nest must be left here cleanly. While Greet was checking himself, he ran out of the dragon's nest. Cyrilla picked up the little dragon and ran faster and more nimble than him. She almost ran out of the dragon's nest side by side with him, and then rushed through Gretel's exclusive floor. At the same time, with a rumble, the doors and windows of the mage tower opened one by one and rose up. A large number of magicians rushed out of the magic tower, and a large number of magicians flew up, rushed into the door of the magic tower, or flew into the long window. Archmage Philby was reserved for a moment and did not rush in immediately. Instead, she looked back at the teacher. The Lord of Thunder nodded slowly, took a step forward in the void, and then took another step forward, walking towards the direction of the mage tower, while landing slightly. As a legendary mage and Gretel's teacher, it was obviously unnecessary for him to rush into his disciple's mage tower in a hurry to confirm his disciple's condition. He should move forward slowly and reservedly, and at the same time, wait for his disciples to know the situation and rush out to greet him. Anyway, the advancement has been completed. Judging from the elemental fluctuations, it should have been completed successfully. There is no need to rush in. However, other people, or other dragons, are not as sure as the Lord of Thunder. Led by Vaska, a group of young dragons couldn't wait and rushed to the mage tower. In order to save space, they transformed into human figures one by one and crowded into 2 rows in front of the long window. The top row, the bottom row, crowded together, staring at the inside of the mage tower. Of course, the older legendary dragon couldn't bear to face the young people. Fortunately, the dragon's vision and hearing are very keen. From high in the sky, they can see hares underground like eagles, like hares underground, they can hear the sound of gosh ox flapping their wings high in the sky. Therefore, they slowly floated 1 kilometer away, 2 kilometers away, looking down at Greet who came out. Watching Greet running to the window, watching Cyrilla holding the shining silver dragon in her arms, they ran to the long window together. Then, they saw the giant dragons that had turned into human forms, clicking and freezing one by one. A few were so shocked that they couldn't even maintain their levitation and fell directly, hitting the heads of the people in the row below. Cyrilla. Elder Batista heard the voice of a young dragon, probably a golden dragon, who liked Cyrilla, and shouted in shock, suddenly, and almost torn apart. "You and Greet have a baby so soon." Snap. The 2 young giant dragons couldn't maintain their transformation skills, so they transformed directly back into their dragon form and smashed to the ground, knocking down several of their friends around them. Click. Next to Elder Batista, 2 legendary dragons smashed their jaws down on the spot. Boom, boom, roar. At the entrance of the mage tower, there was chaos. The magicians panicked to avoid the giant dragon that crashed down from the air. Acceleration, sprinting, teleportation, and different spells were flying everywhere. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Cyrilla yelled angrily. "This little dragon was made by Gretel himself." Himself. "It has nothing to do with me." She held up the windowsill and jumped out. Suspended in the air, she held the little dragon in both hands and poked it in front of the young dragons, especially in front of her brother's wide eyes. "Look, look, see for yourself." Vaska drifted back subconsciously, then floated again. Behind him, above and below, the legends screamed and rushed forward, quickly blocking him behind them. "What's this? What is this little dragon? How did it appear? It doesn't look like a living thing, it looks like a living thing, but it doesn't look like a living thing. Amazing. Even Princess Norrel couldn't help it." With the Lord of Thunder by her side, she was able to occupy the best position, and tremblingly touched the little dragon. "Did Gretel make this? Is it the result of Gretel's advancement? Go back and talk to your husband and ask him how he made this. She can pay you. It can be exchanged for the knowledge, resources, and various plant seeds of the elves. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right?" Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1637. This little dragon was created by me using the cloning technique. Based on the chromosomes I recorded, filled with the energy gifted by the will of the world, and guided by cloning. Gretel stood in the conference hall of the Mage Tower and spoke loudly. On both sides of the long table, there were several legends sitting on each side. The little dragon held its head high on the conference table and walked around, letting them look at it as they pleased. Not allowed to start. As for those dragons who are not even legendary, no matter how high they think they are, they can only sit in the back row like human spellcasters. No matter how much I poked my head, my eyes were about to bleed, and I couldn't put my head on the elder's shoulder. Gretel is talking about his unique method. How to get Xialong's unique secret. How rare. Be sure to listen carefully and take note of it. Alas, it's a pity that the little dragon can't be touched, can't touch, can't be held, can only look at. According to the established habits of spellcasters, the unique magic developed by oneself, one's own unique secret skills, and unique insights can be completely kept secret from the public. This is a unique trick, right? At the critical moment, you must rely on it to save your life. At an advanced level, these things can be kept secret even from one's own teachers. Even if you communicate within the school and contribute some knowledge, it is natural and you should be rewarded. However, Gretel didn't think so much. For one thing, he is a medical magician who studies, treats, and practices in his mage tower all year round. He is a key protection target and does not need to fight for life or death. Furthermore, there are so many legends, so many dragon legends, in front of the teacher. Do you have the nerve to rely on him? Of course, the most important thing is the third one. He, Sarala, and they stayed in the dragon's nest on the top of the mage tower for a few days and nights, and then they came out with a little dragon in their arms. If you don't explain Xialong's origins clearly and explain how he got it, when the time comes, the news that Gretel and Sarah gave birth to a little dragon will spread from 1 to 10, and from one to another, spreading throughout Dragon Island, and then to the outside world. He doesn't want to live anymore. His innocent reputation. Of course, it was impossible for Gretel to explain everything in detail. He only explained the general idea and showed Xiaolong to prove his innocence. In the conference room, dozens of spiritual powers surged back and forth, scanning Xiaolong's body continuously. I can't feel the existence of spiritual power and soul. It looks like a fake, no, like an empty shell with only a body and no soul. An empty shell worse than a dragon beast. Even if it is an empty shell, its details are perfect enough. It is exactly the same as the silver dragon hatchling. It can be said that, there is a silver dragon soul landing in this body, and it will immediately come to life like a real silver dragon, and then gradually grow up. No, this little dragon does not seem to be made of flesh and blood. Hey, this kid has traveled very, very far away on a brand new route. The Lord of Thunder listened quietly to his disciple's explanation and sighed silently. At least in the fields of medical treatment and life, I can no longer teach him anything or guide him. As a teacher, what else can I do to help him? After Gretel finished giving a brief explanation, he picked up the little dragon with a smile and handed it back to Sarala's arms. Then, the Lord of Thunder stood up naturally, took his wife's hand, and prepared to exit the conference room. As soon as he stood up, the legendary dragons were embarrassed to sit still, so they stood up and retreated outside one by one. They only remained polite and quiet until they exited the mage tower. When one stepped out, the other immediately started shouting. "You've advanced to level 17 so quickly." "Yeah, it's only been a few days. That's how long it takes for me to take a nap. If that little world hadn't come over and kept me busy every day, my nap would have lasted longer than this. The most important thing is the little dragon, don't you think? He can use the world's gifts to make a little dragon, and in the future he can use the dragon's flesh and blood to make a little dragon. Does this mean that the dragon reproduction plan can take a big step forward? When can we start to have children stably without worrying about not being able to hatch or awaken? I forgot to ask just now, it was not easy to ask on that occasion just now. Remember to ask later." The legendary dragons and the visiting adult and prime dragons left behind some pearls, gems, and magic materials, both as gifts and as a reward for listening to Gretel's explanation of magic. They spread their wings and flew into the sky. In the mage tower, only Gretel and the Lord of Thunder were left looking at each other. Gretel turned his left foot to his right foot, and his right foot to his left foot. After struggling for a long time, he whispered, "So this is what it's like now, I'm stuck in two places now. One is that I can't understand the details of chromosomes and can't determine which segment is which. Another point is that the principle of atoms entering the transition state is not very clear. We only observe the phenomenon and cannot say exactly why it transitions and which part is transitioning. The Lord of Thunder looked calm and nodded slightly. In the past few days of waiting for Gretel to advance, he had a rough understanding of the recent research progress, so that he would not be confused and have no idea what Gretel was talking about. However, if you want to give detailed guidance, it is still a little bit meaningless. After all, he had never personally rubbed the chromosome segments, nor had he played with the accelerator. In desperation, I could only pick a familiar angle and start talking. So, can you stimulate the high-speed electron flow with your own magic power? Greet shook his head vigorously. The Lord of Thunder raised his hand and waved, and his meditation world opened up, shrouding Gretel vaguely, and shot a stream of electrons over. Can you sense the electron flow with your mental power? Greet's eyes suddenly opened wide. Teacher, I am from the medical branch. I am not a pure energy-shaping thunder and lightning branch like senior sister Philby. You let me use my mental power to directly perceive the electron flow? Perceive electrons one by one? Did you make a mistake? Then, what about this? Shake your head, keep shaking your head. The Lord of Thunder's eyes twitched, then jumped again, and tried not to get angry. Your perception of mental power is too rough. How do you do research and do medical treatment like this? For patients with mental and energy disorders, your perception is too weak. If you want to use your mental power to wrap, sort, and guide them, you can't do it at all. There is something wrong with your chromosomes, and your perception is too weak. Even if you want to use your mental power to adjust or change it, you can't. Your senior sister, at your level, can already use the meditation world to directly perceive the electron flow. Teacher, no way. Gretel screamed. My mental strength is really not as refined as this. It's really not as detailed as the molecular level. I can feel the bacteria are on their way. Can't do it? Just practice if you can't do it. The more refined your mental power is, the more energy your body will have in the future. When you ascend to the legend, your path will be more stable, safer, and less likely to go wrong. While I am on Long Island, I will arrange special training for you during this period. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Giolan 2020. Chapter 1638. Thunderlord's Lightning Maze. Thunderlord's Lightning Whack-a-Mole. The Lord of Thunder's 5 lightning whips. Greet cried and fell into endless tutoring classes. When he was still a 5th and 6th level mage, the Lord of Thunder only asked him to develop his mental power, be able to feel the difference in voltage, and be able to identify the direction in the lightning maze and walk to the exit of the maze using only his mental power. When he was a little mage of 7th or 8th level, the Lord of Thunder asked him to use the lightning whack-a-mole treasure box from the first level to the last level to train his spirit, sensitivity and finesse of force. And when he has become a level 17 high-level mage, and should theoretically start making final adjustments and sprints to advance to legend, the Lord of Thunder's requirements for him are. No, Gretel screamed, rolled around, and scurried away. Help! Let me go, it hurts, hurts, hurts. However, the Lord of Thunder did not let him go. To be precise, the small world opened by the Lord of Thunder was not revealed to him. Looking around, there is mist everywhere, deep and quiet. The vast whiteness fluctuated with his steps. Snapped. An electric whip whipped down. The power is not very strong, and it will not cause him to immediately fall to the ground, moan, scream, roll, or even fall into coma. It will not be burned close to the bone, causing muscle necrosis, soft tissue necrosis around the bone, and exposure of bone and joint damage. Of course, it will not cause brain damage, cerebral edema, respiratory or cardiac arrest, or more serious consequences. It just hurts. It's like being burned by a candlelight and yelling and throwing away your hand. It's also like touching the switch when you were a child, making an ouch, immediately shrinking your hand, and then holding your fingertips in your hand. It hurts, not a fatal pain, but it is a pain that will make people remember it and never dare to touch a candle or a switch again. Greet hissed, threw himself a healing spell with a frown, moved his shoulders, and threw another mechanized mind up. This thing can't relieve pain, but it can make him ignore the pain and make him feel better. Magicians are not warriors. Most of them cannot fight hard despite their injuries, or even concentrate under the pain. And with the magic of mechanized mind, even the most delicate magician can make 1, 2, or 3 cuts on the body, with blood flowing, or even broken bones, and calmly throw out one after another. Spells. Gretel wanted to cheat like this. However, a dissatisfied hum came from the void. Shadowless magic waves passed by, and Gretel's mechanized mind disappeared in an instant. Well. No. This doesn't work either. Gretel touched his shoulder with a grimace, and then his eyes suddenly condensed. Front right, what's coming from the front right? In the thick fog, something is coming? A ray? A thin trace? Is it fluorescent? Is it electronic flow? He jumped quickly to the left. With a crackle, a bolt of lightning shot out from the front right and flew past his shoulder. Gretel let out a small breath. Okay. Oops. Another one came under the left leg. Teacher, why are you so tricky with your electric current? Expand your mental power. The teacher's voice sounded at the right time, cold, decisive, and unquestionable. Expand. Feel your surroundings. Feel the fluctuations of the elements. This is so difficult. He has done this before, such as when fighting, such as in the rainforest, calling nature, reflecting the surroundings, pointing him in the direction, and indicating the location of the enemy and friendly forces. However, you must follow the teacher's request and use your mental energy to feel such delicate things, such as a little fluctuation in the white mist, a thin trace. Expand. Gretel gritted his teeth and worked hard to expand his mental power. With your own head as the center point, expand outward in a spherical shape and expand. Cover the head, cover the whole body, and push it out 1 foot, another foot, and another foot. Ah! Another wave is coming. A thin trace was plowed through the mist, just like the traces left by alpha rays and beta rays in the cloud chamber that he had observed before. Gretel jumped back in an emergency, but it was already too late. Following the trace was a fierce bolt of lightning, which opened 3 times and then 4 times. Gretel reflexively raised his hand to cover himself, and the fork on the edge slapped his forearm. Ouch! Gretel screamed, jumped back, and threw healing spells on himself. In his hurry, he forgot to maintain his mental strength around him, so another bolt of lightning fell and slapped him hard on the butt. Ouch! Teacher, you have gone too far. Gretel covered his butt and screamed. The Lord of Thunder's cold voice followed him again. Continue. You can do it. This level is far from your limit. Ouch! Ouch! Gretel ran in the mist, screaming. Outside the fog, or to be precise, outside the office, Sarah was wandering around worriedly. Why don't you come out yet? Why hasn't Greet come out yet? How long will this special training take? I saw that Gretel had a bitter look on his face when he went in. He won't be hurt, right? Will he be in pain? Will it be particularly painful? Will he be injured? Princess Norrell frowned and sat opposite her, unable to answer a word. My husband never used gentle methods to teach his students, and I heard him tell it as a joke. However, Princess Norrell couldn't bear the fact that Cyrilla kept asking questions like a headless chicken. I couldn't bear to tell her the truth, nor could I bear to comfort her and say, "Don't worry, Christian is just teaching his apprentice, not fighting against the enemy. Even if little Greet's performance is not as expected, he will be over with a beating at most dash." Will Cyrilla cry? Will this silver dragon girl who has never been wronged, never been beaten, and never seen little Greet beaten with her own eyes, cry? Don't worry, she could only take Cyrilla's hand affectionately and gently, pull her to her side, and sit down next to her. Master Nordmark is Christine's disciple, and he is his youngest disciple. Christine will not do anything to him. And these trainings are also for his own good dash. But Gretel knows how to heal herself. Princess Norrell's voice became softer. Besides, Kristen will definitely control the intensity and will never let him get hurt. That means he won't get hurt after he's cured. With the healing technique, I can even more easily injure him. Don't worry, Princess Norrell finally came up with her trump card. Let me tell you secretly, I have something to learn from Gretel. So, I told Kristen in advance that he would never dare to hurt Gretel. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geolan 2020. Chapter 1639. When Gretel crawled out of the Lord of Thunder's demi-plane, his whole body was indeed clean. There is no skin torn anywhere, and there is no place where the clothes are torn or burned. Well, Greet's own healing skills are powerful enough. As for clothes, what he didn't notice was that the Lord of Thunder's repair technique was powerful enough. Of course, if you walk with a limp, grin your teeth, or twitch the muscles on your face from time to time, that's another matter. Cyrilla was extremely heartbroken. He rushed forward to hold Greet's arm, and threw a floating technique over him, so that when he walked, his legs, trembling back and shoulders did not have to support his own weight. By the way, the silver dragon girl pouted and threw a half-angry, half-complaining look at the Lord of Thunder. Respect is naturally not very respectful. Even if the issue of seniority is not discussed, theoretically, no one can give such a look to a third-level legend. But the Lord of Thunder could only ignore it. What else could he do if he didn't ignore her? That was his disciple's little girlfriend. Oh, she was his fiancée now, how could he still care about her seriously? What's more, his wife, the elf Princess Norrell, also cast an angry look at him. Why are you so heavy-handed? Can't we do it step by step? Little Gretel is also a level 17 high-level mage, at least give him some face. Moreover, he is also the master of this mage tower, the leader of such a large research team, and so many people are watching. The Lord of Thunder could only look at the silver dragon girl and the elf princess calmly with an incomprehensible face. Then, he pretended that nothing happened and left calmly, taking Archmage Philby with him. Teacher? Do I want to train too? You don't need it. The Lord of Thunder glanced at this disciple helplessly. Except for Greet, all the other disciples made him worry-free. He must work hard and be wise. But Greet, a large group of disciples together can't be as lazy as him. However, a large group of disciples together, tossing in new directions and making new discoveries, can't be as lazy as him. This child must be trained and disciplined well. We need to lay a solid foundation for him. You don't need to train, but you have to help little Gretel. I can't always train him myself. Since you don't do it yourself, you have to have a magic circle, or magic equipment, or something similar, as a training ground. Archmage Philby instantly understood what the teacher meant. How to design this training ground, how to increase the level of difficulty from easy to difficult, how to control time, how to quickly stop the magic circle when there may be danger, how to confirm the training effect. The most the teacher can do is give a direction and a general idea. She has to personally coordinate all the details, debugging, location selection, material collection and manufacturing. Of course, Archmage Philby is also willing to contribute. What level was she when she first met little Gretel? How many research results were produced in the direction pointed by little Greet? Now that he is half a legend, how much contribution does little Gretel have in this? Let's just say that during her time on Dragon Island, her half-step into the legend was all done with Gretel's research direction and Gretel's resources. Even for this reason, she must work diligently to help the teacher build the training ground. Just according to her own standards. According to her own levels of 15, 16, and 17, when the mental force field is expanded, she can observe how big and delicate it is, layer by layer. Archmage Philby put down the research at hand, everything from accelerators to particles. Following the general idea given by the teacher, I recruited 2 alchemists and plunged into the creation of the training ground. It's on the top floor of the Mage Tower, no, it's on the next floor of the Dragon's Nest, the floor that is exclusive to little Gretel. Anyway, the place is very big. I took out a vacant laboratory and covered it all over the training field. Design the spell configuration, calculate the force, draw the drawings, modify, manufacture. Archmage Philby is wholeheartedly immersed in the work of helping her junior brother lay a solid foundation. At the same time, the Lord of Thunder also plunged into research and could not extricate himself. When he came, Greed had a lot of questions and asked him every day. "Teacher, have you studied that accelerator? It's the one that accelerates electrons, uses electric fields to generate magnetic fields, uses magnetic fields to accelerate electrons, and then uses electrons to collide with various things. Why does the transition occur? What is the energy that escapes during the transition? Why can they be bound in some cases and escape in other cases? How does this energy escape? Is it a wave or a particle? Atoms collided by high-speed electrons absorb energy, so where do those electrons go? Are they bound by the atoms? What is the relationship between the new electrons and the original electrons of the atom? How do atoms bind that energy? If you want to accelerate other particles, such as protons and neutrons, how should you build this accelerator? Lord of Thunder. I've just arrived, can you please stop pushing me so hard? A study will involve all kinds of problems. The Lord of Thunder really wants to monopolize this accelerator and sleep next to it all day long, it doesn't matter if he sleeps inside the accelerator. However, Gretel has already arranged the time slots for each research group. Even the Lord of Thunder cannot take the time slots of the young magicians, let alone Archmage Philby. She is counting on the electronic flow shower to increase her energy activity and speed up her journey to become a legend. Therefore, the Lord of Thunder could only observe remotely while unfolding his demi-plane, using his mental power to rub the accelerator and study it manually. In addition to research, I also answer questions for my wife. You said, would it be better for me to learn the cloning technique directly from little Gretel? Or should I ask a necromancer for advice? Nothing is good. The former will delay little Gretel's study and training progress, the latter, I will be laughed to death. Laughing to death. I'll ask little Greet for a batch of information first. I remember that Black Crow Swamp gave him a batch of information and spellcasting materials. You should study on your own first, and then ask if you know anything about it. You said, is the body created by the cloning technique alive? Or dead? Or is it neither life nor death, neither death nor life? It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1640. Both my disciple and my wife are careless. The Lord of Thunder is beset by a barrage of questions. As the saying goes, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. He is a third-level legend, so of course, all sophisticated questions should be asked to him. As for the accelerator problem, you make a list and sort it by priority. The Lord of Thunder had no choice but to start the blame shifting method. After sorting, release the projects and let them take over. There is a set operation method for this, right? Yes, that's right. Gretel crawled out of the Lord of Thunder's demi-plane again, swaying as usual, looking disgraced and exhausted as usual. But teacher, don't you want to participate in this topic? The Lord of Thunder felt bad again. I'm your teacher. I am a third-level legend. You have a big topic in your hand, one that can be broken down into dozens of smaller topics, and then you ask me if I will participate? I. Am I not supposed to be the instructor and coordinator of the project? Calm down, this is a disciple's task, I can't just take it away, this is too outrageous. If you have any questions, you can ask me. He coughed in front of him. If you have any conjectures that need to be verified, you can come to me if you don't have the accelerator or the strength of a low-level mage. Teacher, each of the low-level mages you call is at least level 17, which is higher than mine. Now they are on the same level as mine. Well, a third-level legend is qualified to say that any mage below the level of legend is all a low-level mage. Gretel bowed his head to the Lord of Thunder and bowed respectfully. The Lord of Thunder watched the study door close behind his disciple, closed his eyes slightly, and sighed, a swirling lightning bolt in his palm. It is still troublesome to use mental power to restrain lightning and simulate an accelerator. Even in one's own demi-plane, using lightning energy to build a temporary accelerator is a task with twice the result and half the effort. I still need to build an accelerator, a big one, bigger than Philby's. I still need to get the territory promised to me by the Dragon Clan quickly, and then get some of the materials. Then, some materials will be transported from Nevis. He had a hunch that the accelerator was a very important research method. If used properly, it could touch many mysteries of the world and greatly speed up the advancement of plastic magicians. But that means going to Sky Dragon City, patrolling the sky with the legendary dragons, and fighting together. Hey, he has only been here a few days, so at least let him arrange special training for Little Greet. And Norrell, he should at least watch Norrell adjust his condition, calm down physically and mentally, and prepare to hit the legend, right? Instead of the current situation where there are problems every day. Kristen, where do you think I should start to learn cloning? Princess Norrell held the cloning technique information kindly provided by Gretel, a private copy of Archmage Haynes of Black Crow Swamp, with a lot of private annotations, and frowned crazily as she faced a large number of necromancy terms. Or, should I find a necromancer and study with him for a while? But, the smell of the necromancer is so unpleasant, it's not a bad smell, but a cold, decaying, death smell. I really don't want to get close. Also learning necromancy, the smell of little Gretel is bright, soft, and lively. Even if he was buried in the laboratory, killing dozens or hundreds of rabbits a day, there was no such unpleasant smell. I think what you need is not to learn the cloning technique. My wife encountered difficulties in learning, and the Lord of Thunder had to step in to help. What is useful to you should be the changes from life to death and from death to reincarnation during the cloning process. You can observe more and gain more insights. As for learning and testing yourself, it is too troublesome and takes up too much time. Too much. Princess Norrell held her chin in her hands and fell into the long examination. Information about the cloning technique, written descriptions, annotations, the aura she felt on Gretel's body, her insights as she advanced along the way. Silently, the elf princess's heart flowed. Finally, she nodded and admitted that her husband was right. But, is there any research related to cloning recently? The Lord of Thunder doesn't know this issue either. He was silent for a moment and realized that he had to ask Gretel this kind of question. In other words, he had to bring back the little guy who had just been kicked out. I'll ask him later. Which department is doing cloning and when will the experiment be started? I'll give you a message then, so you can watch. Well, not today. Not today. Didn't little Greet give you the authority? Princess Norrell smiled. The authority of the Mage Tower, is equivalent to Gretel's own access authority. If the Lord of Thunder hadn't firmly refused, Gretel would have even wanted to give the teacher the authority over the signing process. Of course, all he got in the end was a slap in the face. Are you trying to be lazy? Do you want to leave everything to me? This is your own Mage Tower. It's your own research. It's enough for you to ask for advice. You can take care of your own research team. It's really not a good idea to call someone back to ask someone immediately after throwing out such words. The Lord of Thunder spreads his hands. Yes, I gave it to me, but there is nothing related to cloning in it. Maybe, the little guy didn't divide the task, or hasn't started planning yet. Then I really have no choice but to ask again. Princess Norrell sighed regretfully. She stood up and walked to the window, holding her hands on the window lattice, and looked out. Suddenly, the elf princess said, "Hey. That's Diamond, right? What's he doing here again?" The Lord of Thunder frowned slightly. "No, are you here to urge me? He has only been to Long Island for a few days." He got up and went downstairs, preparing to greet this friend who had gone to the edge of Dragon Island to meet them and accompany them all the way. However, when I walked out of the stairs, I saw the golden light reflected by Diamond's clothes entering the conference room, and then I heard his voice. "Master Nordmark, first of all, congratulations on your successful advancement." This friend didn't mince words at all. After expressing his congratulations meaningfully, he immediately went straight to the point. "Sky Dragon City sent me here to ask for advice on the progress of the project to promote dragon fertility. When can we start the fertility assistance work for mature dragons?" The Lord of Thunder silently took 2 steps back and returned to the study, avoiding their conversation. "It's too tragic," he thought to himself, "it's really too tragic. Little Greet was forced to help a group of dragons give birth to children before she even held her wedding. Those dragons in their prime who are forced to have children must not be happy either, right? Also, isn't the dragon clan's debt collection too harsh? Little Gretel has just completed his advancement, so he has to be allowed a few days to adjust, right?" The Lord of Thunder cursed silently. After finishing his slander, there was a knock on the study door over there, and Diamond rushed in. "Originally, the third-level elders should have come to invite you, but they are really too busy," I said. "Christine, the fight is already going on up there, when will you go up?" Lord of Thunder, the smile gradually disappears. JPG. Thanks to @Scarlix for the 200 starting coins. Thanks to @Bookfriend 2020701150844503 for the 100 starting coins reward. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1641. Going to Sky Dragon City? It's not convenient now. Why isn't it convenient? Golden Dragon Diamond rolled up his sleeves anxiously. The tight-fitting material on the forearm was torn open by him with a swipe. The Golden Dragon didn't have time to feel distressed. He pushed his left sleeve to his shoulder with 2 handfuls, revealing a striking scar on his upper arm. Look. Look. The fight above is like this. I came down to pick you up before I even recovered from my injuries. Old friend, seeing as how hard we fought, hurry up and help. The scar was more than half a foot long, stretching from the highest point of the upper arm muscle to close to the elbow joint. It was crooked and clinging to the arm like an earthworm, and it was a little uneven underneath. It was obvious that when it was injured, it was not treated properly and was only hurriedly thrown in a healing spell to force it to heal. Moreover, under the skin of the entire arm, there is a gleaming brilliance looming. Obviously the dragon scales can emerge at any time, providing strong defense. That is, the surface of the scar is unnaturally smooth. It is obvious at a glance that the healing is not perfect, and the dragon scales that were broken when injured have not grown back. Is it hurt so badly? Princess Norrell covered her mouth in surprise, then looked at her husband worriedly. A golden dragon can be injured like this, but what about humans? If Christine goes to help them fight, how can she bear such an attack? The Lord of Thunder's expression remained unchanged. Not only did he remain unchanged, he also glared at Diamond angrily. What does this level of injury mean to the Dragon Clan? No matter how bad they are at healing, the powerful self-healing abilities of the legendary dragons and legendary golden dragons can heal their wounds within half an hour, or at most half a day. There is still such a big scar, who should I show it to? There is not even a trace of residual alien energy near this wound. It is purely a flesh wound. Just throw in a healing spell and it should be fine. It must be kept like this. With the scar poking in front of him, are you trying to deal with him, or are you trying to scare Norrell? Norrell was frightened. I originally planned to go out for half a month every month, but I could only reduce it to 10 days. Seeing his glare, Diamond knew the trick was revealed, smiled coquettishly, and put down his sleeves. With a casual pat, the sleeves returned to their original shape, and he turned to comfort the princess. It's okay, it's okay. It's just a minor injury. I was rushed and didn't have time to treat it properly. Don't worry, I'm mainly doing close combat, and Christine must be doing long-range attacks. There won't be any danger. Then I can't leave now, I really can't leave. Old God, Lord of Thunder, spread his hands on the ground. You also saw that Norrell has just settled down and has not yet entered the state. Little Gretel has just advanced, and the training ground arranged for him has not been adjusted yet. In half a month, right? Half a month, I must follow you up. Half a month is too slow. Golden Dragon Diamond said with a sad face. Look left, look right. How about you take Norrell up for a tour first? What magic materials are still lacking in the training ground arranged for him by the Nordmark mage? You make an order and I ask them to make up as much as possible. Well, it's better to collect supplies from Dragon Island than to transport them all the way from Nevis. The Lord of Thunder sighed secretly. It's only been a few years now. Back then, when I visited the Tower of Babel, I gave him a little Gretel, gave a gift to Sarah, and then tacitly allowed Sarah to be given to Gretel's friends. Now my attitude has changed drastically. After arriving at Long Island in person, the feeling was particularly obvious. Little Gretel has grown into a high-level mage that the Dragon Clan must face up to and the legendary Dragon Clan must treat with courtesy. Let's talk about it later, he pushed back vaguely. We have to make some arrangements at home, and we can set off after everything is in order. How is your injury? Do you want me to call little Greet over and help you take care of it? No, no, no. Hurry up. If you need to arrange, adjust, or issue orders, hurry up. It's best to get it done within 3 days. I'll go communicate with Master Nordmark again and see where he needs it. What? He jumped down like flying. The Lord of Thunder waved his hand leisurely to him, then turned to comfort his wife. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Those dragons, relying on their huge bodies and strong resilience, are very strong, and they rush straight up. If I go into battle, I will definitely use all my defenses, and then attack from a distance. The teleportation spell will definitely be arranged. If anyone is in danger, he will be teleported back. If you are still not at ease, how about I ask them to arrange a cloning technique? While the Lord of Thunder was patiently comforting his wife, the golden dragon Diamond had already rushed to Gretel's side. Then, he started to stare blankly at the long list of supplies issued by Greet. No, isn't it? Do you need so much? We dragons don't need so many supplies to give birth to a child. Ah, these supplies are mainly to increase the speed of research. Gretel innocently spread his hands. The fertility rate of dragons is currently increasing, mainly due to two aspects. One is the successful duplication of extraordinary chromosomes. This is related to whether high-level dragons, especially legendary dragons, can successfully conceive. He picked up a supply list and scratched it from beginning to end with his fingertips. The materials on this list are all used to provide a variety of high-energy environments to observe the chromosome replication process of extraordinary cells. The types and quantities of your materials are enough to build an accelerator. Golden Dragon Diamond muttered. Greet looked at him with a smile. What about building an accelerator? Isn't it necessary to build an accelerator to study the process of energizing chromosomes by high-energy particles? The previous accelerator was built by ourselves using our own money and materials. The two sides stared at each other for a long time, and the golden dragon Diamond finally retreated. It's boring to argue with researchers about budget issues. He thought, those researchers always have a lot of reasons why they need this and that. What about this list? He picked up the second, longer list and shook it. The total amount of this list is not large, and it is not as amazing as the one for building accelerators. However, there are many kinds of materials, and the types are extremely amazing. He picked up his head and dropped the scroll, then dropped it directly to the ground, rolled it twice, and dragged it out for several meters. What is this one for? This one is a simulation of a dragon egg using the cloning technique, Greet replied sternly. As you know, another reason for the low fertility rate of dragons is that it is very difficult for dragon eggs to awaken after they hatch. I used dragon eggs to simulate dragon eggs, but I couldn't simulate the awakening step anyway. Then you just want to use dragon eggs. Diamond, the golden dragon, almost jumped up. Gretel raised his palm and pressed it down hard, making a comforting gesture. Hey, cloning can create a body. I just want to use cloning to simulate it. It doesn't need to be simulated for too long, just simulate it until it comes out of the shell, and measure the mental strength and carrying capacity. How can that be done? Why not? Besides, that one is faster, Gretel said confidently. The cloning technique takes a year to create a complete adult body, but it should only take at most a month to hatch a baby dragon. It's much faster. It's better than having the dragon beast to get pregnant and hatch the eggs. Many times faster. Golden Dragon Diamond actually felt like what you said is so right and makes sense. He struggled for a while, struggled again, tried hard to use his brain, and finally found an unusual place. Then why didn't you do the subject before? Do you have to do it now? Previous research on chromosomes was not detailed enough and could not be done. Gretel continued to spread his hands as a matter of course. Moreover, during my advancement this time, I was inscribed with the cloning technique, and I gained a lot of experience in adjusting this spell. With one cloning material, I can make adjustments in various aspects, and get twice the result with half the effort. The golden dragon Diamond stared, and stared again. After staring countless times, he finally came to his senses. Why are we so entangled with each other? I'm just a messenger. Just write the plan and requirements into a process and submit it. He slapped the table, stood up and left. Let the Presbyterian Council approve any new research plans, how much research time can be shortened, and what materials are needed. Presbyterian. The Presbyterian Church has a hard time seeing these new fields and new needs. But fortunately, the Presbyterian Church is good at skipping phenomena and going straight to the essence. After some bargaining, they decided on a packaging plan. Will the Lord of Thunder please come for a tour first? If the effect is good, we will give more. If the effect is not good, we will give less. The miserable golden dragon diamond flew down again. This time, he successfully invited the Lord of Thunder and his wife to come to Sky Dragon City. One came to visit and the other came to work. The dragon clan specially sent 2 legendary dragons to accompany them. The steel dragon Bastos is the best in physical defense among the legendary dragons. The silver dragon Bisksa is the leader in magic defense and healing among the legendary dragons. With these 2 people present, the Lord of Thunder accompanied his wife on a symbolic tour of Sky Dragon City, placed her in the wounded barracks, and then flew high into the air, rushing beyond the world barrier. Flying out of the world barrier, a hurricane mixed with darkness and destructive power rushed towards you. 6 legendary dragons formed a formation to maintain the magic circle. Lightning, fire, sound waves, and light were flying in an effort to withstand the hurricane. Seeing the Lord of Thunder coming, they didn't even have time to say hello, they just nodded distantly. "Helper, it's up to you. Do you want to go there?" The golden dragon diamond flew to the inside of the world barrier and stopped, transmitting a message from a distance. "Who do you want to replace?" "No, I'll fly out some more." The Lord of Thunder estimated the distance, and the lightning around him lit up and disappeared suddenly. The dragons looked up and saw that he had already stood at the waist of Hurricane. The size and brightness of his whole person in the field of vision were like a candle light on the trunk of a giant tree. And that candle flame suddenly turned into the sun. Boom! It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1642. Chapter 1637 Thunder. Lord of Thunder. The Lord of Thunder is a happy bomb, beep. Monthly ticket adds 10 more updates. Boom. A violent earthquake occurred. This shocking movement was unusually loud. First came the blazing light, which instantly filled the entire field of vision, like a sun falling unpreparedly above the head. Not even the dragon clan can carry it with its physical body. Several legendary dragons closed their eyes subconsciously. Before the tough outer eyelids closed, the 3 layers of smooth inner eyelids had automatically adjusted, closed, and changed color to block external strong light. However, even with so many layers of defense, the intertwined magic circles, and the surging magic power in the magic circles, several legendary dragons were still stabbed to the point where their eyes were closed tightly and tears flowed. What light is this? What kind of bright light is this? So strong. So strong. Why didn't you say hello before taking action? My mental power. My mental power is also being burned. Treatment. I need treatment. In the magic communication technique, the wails of the dragons echoed. However, even in the wails, there is joy. What they had struggled to withstand for so many days was not only the strong wind, but also the dark, gloomy, and highly corrosive things in the strong wind. And this strong light can penetrate the darkness and directly blind them, which means that the moment the strong light bursts out, most of the darkness and gloom will be washed away. Their pressure has been reduced by half. Even the magic circle that we are struggling to maintain can be pushed out as far as possible. Golden Dragon Diamond hid inside the world barrier, relying on the protection of the barrier, but he didn't burst into tears immediately. He raised his head and stared at the scene outside the barrier, opened his eyes suddenly, and sent a message to his colleagues. Increase the intensity. Stabilize the magic circle. Increase the intensity dash. Strong pressure has hit. In the center of the black wind, or wind column, that jetted from that small world, a huge cloud rolled outward. Whether it's the gloomy black wind or the long, sharp black line, when it encounters the cloud, it disappears like boiling water and snow. The black wind column sprayed out from the small world was cut off from it, and even pushed back for a while. But that's the second half. The first half, that is, the half facing the world barrier and the legendary dragons, surged faster and fiercer under the strong pressure of the clouds. Even without the warning from the golden dragon diamond, several legendary dragons maintaining the magic circle heard the deafening roar. More than just deafness, if the dragons hadn't reflexively closed the ear canal, closing it layer by layer, and replaced it with a more fragile creature, the deafness would have turned into real deafness. Sound and loud noise are always ahead of the wind. Such a powerful roar can only mean an unprecedented storm. The dragons subconsciously increased the output of the magic array. Almost at the moment they finished adjusting, the wind, the huge wind, roared and hit them. Boom! Why is it so windy? Hold on. You must hold on. Adjust the output of elements. Adjust the proportion of elements. There are less dirty things in this wind. You don't have to spend so much effort to get rid of the dirty things. Work harder. Work harder. We must withstand this wave no matter what. Hoo, ho, ho, hey, there's no more behind. The giant dragons roared, or gritted their teeth, withstanding the strongest wave of impact. The mighty black wind collided with their magic circle, was absorbed, shunted, and purified by the magic circle, and became a clean wind, which fell into the world barrier, and was then swallowed and purified by the entire world. According to past practice, a strong shock will be followed by a slightly weaker shock, another strong one, and another weak one, over and over again, endlessly. However, the dragons were surprised to find that the power impacting the magic array was getting weaker and weaker, almost to nothing. Stopped. They opened their weeping eyes. They tap into their spiritual power. They looked upward, forward, toward the direction of the small world where the black wind was blowing, looking far away. Boom! 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 Explode! Explode! Continuous explosions. In the middle of the wind pillar, in front of the wind pillar, light groups one after another are pushing outward, pushing forward, pushing towards the direction of the small world. What is that? Who is that? Is it the one who just came up? Who just came up? Who is that? It's the Lord of Thunder. The golden dragon diamond looked left and right, and finally carefully flew out of the world barrier, approached the many legendary dragons setting up the magic circle, and whispered. It's the one the elders talked about before. Junior legends like him were originally not allowed to leave the barrier, or they had to form a protective circle under the leadership of a high-level legend before they could go out together. However, isn't this the Lord of Thunder who has boomed, 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 and pushed the black wind blowing over the small world back to the boss? It's safe for him to come out and talk to everyone, right? 6 heads and 12 eyes all turned towards him. After turning around in a circle, he stood up neatly and turned upward, towards the direction where the wind pillar of the small world was pressing. It's him. The third level legend is really powerful. This strength is almost the same as our great elder. Wait, why is he still continuing? The 7th, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th. Every explosion is equivalent to the full power casting of a second level legend. Even the great elder can't cast such a high intensity spell so fast. Doesn't he even take a break? As expected of Mage Nordmark's teacher. Hey. What do you mean by this? I mean, if the disciple is so good, how good can the teacher be? Now it seems that the teacher is still a teacher. Bombing, bombing, intense bombing. The Lord of Thunder flew freely in the void, took out one piece of refined ore after another, and launched explosions again and again. Simulation spell configuration 1. Simulation spell configuration 2. Simulation spell configuration 3. Spell enhancement 2nd edition. The 3rd edition of spell enhancement. High light version. High fever version. Power condensation 2nd edition. The 3rd edition of power diffusion. Boom, boom, boom. Around him, countless magic runes were born and destroyed, and reborn. Maintain the air, temperature, pressure, and other environments so that he can survive normally in the void. Weave a defensive net so that he will not be hurt by the aftermath of the explosion, the black wind blowing from the small world, or torn apart by the void outside the world barrier. And, measure the explosion effect and collect various feedback. There was an activated lightning floating on the shoulder, one end stretched out, scattered into countless threads, connected to the magic runes used for measurement, and one end sank into the void, strictly speaking, into the demi-plane that the Lord of Thunder carried with him. The calculation center in the demi-plane is diligently recording, calculating, and comparing. Spell configuration 1, radiation pressure is 51.3% higher than expected, wind pressure is 17.8% lower, heat, range of influence. Spell configuration 2. Spell configuration 3. The Lord of Thunder exploded with joy. Ah, it's better to have Sky Dragon City. To be precise, it's better to be on top of Sky Dragon City, outside the world barrier. When he is inside the world, every explosion must take into account the impact on the earth, the ocean, the impact on animals and plants, and the long-term damage caused by radiation dust. Every time there was an explosion, Norrell followed behind, diligently repairing nature and helping him eliminate the damage to nature. More importantly, with every explosion, he would vaguely feel the anger and warning of this world. I have no choice but to stop. Work hard on research, work hard on calculating spell structures, and work hard on experimental design. Make the paperwork as solid as possible, minimize the number of experiments, and reduce the harm to the world. It's not like here, it's not like it's outside the world barrier, where you can explode at will. Explode as much as you want, do as many experiments as you want. As long as he has enough power and enough casting materials, he can follow his heart and explode until this wave of experiments is completed. Boom. Boom. Boom 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 boom. Your Excellency, Lord of Thunder. In the distance, some trembling spell messages penetrated his protective net and vibrated in the spell rune circle. The Lord of Thunder turned around and saw a giant dragon with crystal clear scales, cautiously suspended more than 10 miles away, waving its claws at him. It's almost, that's enough. Is it okay? The Lord of Thunder felt a little regretful for a moment. Feel that your mental strength is still at least 2/3? I sorted through my experiment list and found that I had only completed less than half of it. Touch your own refined ore inventory. Oh, I have a lot of this, and the amount I used today is less than 1,000th. There's no rush, I'll do a few more experiments and go back later. Are you still thinking about doing experiments? The crystal dragon who came to summon him was crying without tears. He is only the first level legend. Although he is relatively strong among the first level legends, with the support of the magic circle and various defenses of his partners, he no longer dares to move forward when he is close to this distance. However, this human magician, this legendary third level, this teacher of the Nordmark mage. Still looking like you're still unfinished? We defended until we were exhausted, and we were so tired that we almost vomited blood once we fought. In your opinion, this is just an experiment? Haven't done enough? Want to continue? Your Excellency, Lord of Thunder, that's enough. It's really enough this time. Once your attack is over, we can have at least a month's rest. It is not cost-effective to attack further. The closer you are to the enemy, the more likely you are to be attacked by unpredictable attacks. This is a lesson learned by several third-level legends through injuries and splashing flesh and blood. They also fought hard to push back the enemy's attack and give the younger generation a chance to breathe. However, be careful. Boom. Thanks to @reader121158257405030304000 for tipping 100 starting coins. Cat feels better. The cat no longer has a fever. My exercise heart rate has not recovered yet, so I can't run or anything like that yet, but walking is no problem. The cat started to continue to pay off the debt. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1643. Be careful. Crystal Longwit's clear blue eyes suddenly widened. Just now, he saw a black light flying out of the black wind that had been thinned by successive explosions, leaving only broken strands. It seems virtual and real, straight and curved. That black light appeared out of thin air, and as soon as it appeared, it was thrown towards the back of the Lord of Thunder. This thing has been out a few times. Every time he appears mysteriously and is hard to stop. One of his descendants, the black dragon Greya, the copper dragon Valens, and several giant dragons, were all injured by this thing. One hit is a hole in the boss's mouth. A huge opening. A quarter of the dragon's wings will be torn off, or a piece of the back will be torn off, or the abdomen and intestines will be torn off. With the size of a human being, if he was hit by this thing, he would be completely dead. He screamed, vibrating his wings at the same time, and flew towards the Lord of Thunder with all his strength. However, just after the first word was spoken, I felt like I hadn't started flying yet, when my field of vision suddenly lit up. There was a bang. The strong light, blazing heat, and wind pressure, what I had just seen over and over again, suddenly burst out. The black light was caught off guard. It had no time to retreat and was wrapped into the center of the explosion. Crystal Longwits didn't know what happened next. He reflexively closed his eyes and ears, and tried his best to cast a few more defensive spells on himself. When all the dust settled, the Lord of Thunder calmly floated in front, with his palm upward, holding a ball of silvery lightning. The lightning started to be the size of a watermelon, then shrunk to the size of a cantaloupe in the blink of an eye, and then shrunk to the size of an orange in the blink of an eye. There are shadows inside, and there seems to be some black lines. If you look carefully, you can't see clearly. At least with Crystal Longwit's eyesight, if you want to see clearly what may be inside through the blazing lightning, it is invisible. He could only turn his gaze to the Lord of Thunder and listen to the Lord of Thunder leisurely say, "Do you want this?" "Yes, yes," Gurwitz nodded fiercely. "This thing, whether it's dead or alive, in whole or in part, it seems they haven't caught it yet. Even if it's just a little scrap, it's good to study it." "Oh, let's go then." The Lord of Thunder threw the lightning ball in his hand, turned around and flew towards the world barrier. Passing by the magic circle, he stopped to look back and sighed leisurely. "Why? There is still a lot to be done in the experiment, so I can only do it next time." "Go back first, go back and take a rest." Golden Dragon Diamond hurriedly came up to greet him. "The princess is still waiting for you below. You have to reassure her quickly. By the way, in addition to the mage tower on the ground, what magic devices do you want in the research institute in Sky Dragon City? What materials do you want?" The Lord of Thunder smiled slightly and flew downward with him to meet his wife at the wounded barracks. When he dropped half the height, he glanced back and saw several streaks of light drifting out, rushing out of the world barrier from the gap he flew back from. "Have you all gone to see the explosion site? Go and have a look. Take a look and see how powerful this radioactive explosion spell is." After watching it again, I realized how much magic power is required to trigger more than a dozen explosions in a row, and how much it will help Sky Dragon City. The Lord of Thunder descended leisurely. There were still more than 10 meters away from the ground, and Princess Norrel had already rushed out with her skirt in hand. Looking up, a pretty face lit up. She jumped up and threw herself into her husband's arms. "Are you okay? Did you encounter any strong enemies when you went out this time? Were you injured? You didn't come back to see me after you were cured, right?" "Don't worry, there's nothing wrong with me." The Lord of Thunder held her waist in vain, letting his wife press his shoulder with one hand and grab his cuff with the other, looking up and down, and half turned around in a cooperative manner. I'm going out this time just to take a look, and then do a few long-range attacks to collect some data. Okay, I won't go out anymore. I'll rest in the barrier for a while and accompany you around. Okay, good. How long can I rest? Princess Norrell suddenly looked up. She is not a weak woman who doesn't understand anything, she is a half-step legend. Half-step legend. In Sky Dragon City, except for those legendary dragons, the rest of the adult dragons and mature dragons were even lower than her in terms of level. It's not that she can't understand the magic facilities and runes in Sky Dragon City. She also helped treat the injured dragons in the wounded barracks. Those injuries and those dangerous alien energies made her tremble with fear. When she looked up at the sky, when she looked at the barrier of the world, she didn't even need to pray to nature, a sharp warning signal sounded in her heart. That was nature warning her, that was the world warning her, danger, danger, danger. As a member of this world, the world spreads its barriers, embraces its children, and gives them enough protection. However, her husband broke out of the world barrier and faced the external crisis. How can you not worry? How could you not be concerned? Can you rest, at least half a month? The Lord of Thunder thought for a while and answered uncertainly. They said before that after this wave of bombings, you can rest for about a month. Even if the enemy's unexpected expansion of troops and surplus are taken into account, you should be able to rest for half a month. He started to frown as he spoke. He raised his head and stared in the direction of the zenith, sighing slightly. Half a month is not enough. Sort out all the data, re-verify the spell configuration, recalculate. It seems like it is not enough, unless. As he spoke, he quietly glanced to the side with the corner of his eye. The golden dragon Diamond has flown down and is standing next to him now. From the wounded barracks, 2 healers also rushed out and stood staring at him from another direction. In addition, a legendary 3rd-level dragon appeared from the meeting hall and was rushing in his direction. Among these parties, as long as one person answers the conversation, he will say unless what? What do you need? Then he can ask for the mage tower. It requires a mage tower, computing power, and all kinds of resources. Shouldn't it be given to him? He is a mercenary. Equipment, scrolls, weapons, medicines, shouldn't all these things be provided by the employer? What's more, he doesn't want any of these things, he just wants the mage tower. The Lord of Thunder's abacus made a clacking sound. However, before the dragons could offer him what he wanted, Princess Norrell had already turned her back. Unless what? Did you go up there just to do experiments? That's almost it? Your life safety is the most important thing. Don't indulge in experiments, just run into the enemy. Okay. The Lord of Thunder could only agree. Not only promise, but also a guarantee and actual actions. In the next half-month, I will definitely not go out to fight. I will just accompany you, okay? Walk around with you in Sky Dragon City? Hey, Diamond, except for the places we can't go, will you take us around? Good. No problem. Absolutely no problem. Golden Dragon Diamond looked at it so hard that his eyes almost dropped. When asked by name, he quickly came up and assured. Anyway, I'm changing shifts too. It won't be my turn to fight in the next month. I'll accompany you everywhere. As long as it's not too dangerous or a secret place, we'll go wherever the beautiful princess wants to go. In the next half-month, Princess Norrell really traveled through the entire Sky Dragon City inch by inch accompanied by her husband. She came to the edge of Dragon City and looked at the vast dragon island below her feet, and also looked at the arc-shaped horizon far away. She stretched out her hand to hold the strong wind in the sky, feeling the powerful mysterious locks of Dragon City in the sky, and the wisps of energy particles escaping from the edge of the mysterious locks. She flew down from the dragon city in the sky, and then flew up along the guiding light pillar, feeling the traction and protection of the body by the energy of the light pillar, as well as the identification of friend and foe by the magic runes. She walked from the easternmost edge of Sky Dragon City to the westernmost edge, from the southernmost edge to the northernmost edge, stepping on the ground where light, shadow, and energy gathered, and felt the way energy gathered and flowed with all her heart. She walked through dragon nests, sometimes being invited in, but most of the time she just stood outside for a while, feeling the dragons of different races and the resonance with different types of elemental energy. She even flew high and close to the world barrier under the protection of the Lord of Thunder. Overlooking the dragon city in the sky from a high altitude, feeling the fluctuations near the world barrier for yourself, feeling the dragon city's efforts to protect the world for thousands of years. When you advance to legend, I will accompany you to take a look outside, the Lord of Thunder promised her. When the time comes, you have the power to protect yourself, and I can take you to see the scenery outside and see what the outside world is like. After half a month of journey, the aura of Princess Norrell became more and more concentrated day by day. Finally, after coming down from the world barrier, she announced to her husband and the golden dragon Diamond who accompanied them. I feel like I'm about to reach legend. Can you take me down there? We nature walkers must be in the embrace of nature to advance to legend. Of course it is possible. It doesn't even take a day to fly down from Dragon City in the sky and land on the ground. Returning to Gretel's Mage Tower, Princess Norrell immediately found a nearby valley, only 5 or 6 miles away from the natural cult settlement, and announced her retreat. Her retreat caused a sensation in the entire nature order. The princess wants to advance to legend. A powerful nature walker wants to advance to legend. Hurry up and watch. Idion, Ash Moon Song, as well as the ancient elven trees brought by Princess Gretel and Princess Norrell. They naturally have the duty to protect the princess. Even for Silver Moon Deer APA, it would be of great benefit to him to experience the legendary advancement up close. Outside them, the entire nature order put down their work and gathered in a circle from a distance. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. Finally, Gretel put down his work and came over to urge the research progress, and the golden dragon Diamond also rushed over again. Kristen, when are you going to be on duty? It's been a month. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1644. Monthly ticket adds 11 updates. Look at this, do I think I can walk away? The Lord of Thunder slowly turned around and looked at the golden dragon Diamond with an expression that looked like a fool. The person who is advancing is none other than his wife. His wife? It's his wife who fell in love with him a long time ago and has been waiting for him silently for so many years on Elf Island. Climbing into the legend is the biggest challenge that every extraordinary person can encounter. It is more dangerous than advancing from a mortal to the extraordinary, more dangerous than every step on the road to the extraordinary, and even more dangerous than advancing to the legendary 2nd level or the legendary 3rd level. One step to life, one step to death. At this time, how could he not accompany her, how could he not stand by her side? I also know you can't leave the golden dragon Diamond's side, slowly sat down, and huddled next to his human friend. If possible, I don't want to rush you, why am I urging you? I clearly know that your wife is preparing to advance, why should I come here to take offense? The Lord of Thunder looked at him sideways. It turns out that you also know how to dislike it? So you also know that this request is inappropriate? So far, there is no mage tower, no accelerator, and nothing else except the energy pool of the residents in Sky Dragon City. Norrell and I's territory is still empty so far. If she wants to advance to a higher level, she has to stay near Little Greet's mage tower. Just like that, you still come over and urge me to work? It's not like I didn't work for you. The indiscriminate bombardment I carried out before, even you yourself admit, can handle it for a month. But I can't help it, after being bombed by you, the enemy seems to have been stimulated by something. Recently, the attacks have been very violent. Normally, a group of guardians are changed every month. Recently, they have been changed. It's been 2 rounds. Enemy. Isn't the wind that blows out of that small world natural? Isn't it controlled by the beings in the small world? Can it be increased? Have the beings in the small world now taken advantage of the wind to fight against the dragons? How many of them are there? How strong is it? What is the nature of energy? Is it more convenient to use powerful single-target spells to eliminate targets at a specific location, or is it more efficient to use area of effect spells to blast one area at a time? Even the various central magic equipment in the magic circle are wearing out very much. The speed of making equipment cannot keep up with the speed of wear and tear. Fortunately, there is still stock. If the stock is consumed too much, we will have to busy doing it every day. And magic equipment? If the production speed of the Dragon Clan cannot keep up, should we place an order with the Magic Council? Processing with supplied materials is also possible. Or, you can ask a few alchemist masters to come over and do direct repairs or maintenance on site. Gretel's mage tower and the work progress of the alchemists, I don't know whether they are satisfied or not. In short, the more work they do, the faster the alchemists grow. What restricts them now is mainly the quantity of high-end rare materials, not time and workload. If you can get a fortune from the Dragon Clan, no, dragon scales, it's best to get a fortune. Bastos has been injured 3 times, one of which almost tore off his right wing. Is it that steel dragon? Legendary 2nd level? Even a steel dragon that is physically strong and good at close combat still needs to have enough protective spells. Tana was also injured twice, one of which was in the abdomen. She is a precious female dragon, a female dragon. She is still expected to have children. Black Dragon Karma. He muttered, and counted them one by one. Who is injured, who has been injured several times, who needs treatment, who is so busy that he has no time to chase his girlfriend, who is so busy that he has no time to sleep. Elder Batista is busy these days treatment, so busy that the scales don't even shine. Andre and Cynthia, you know them, they are Sarala's parents. They swallowed part of the black wind before and went into deep sleep. They say that after the deep sleep ends, they can reach a higher level, but how long has it been? If it weren't for Little Greet's sake, no, if it wasn't for Elder Batista's sake, we would drag them out of the dragon's nest no matter what. There is also a shortage of healing power now. Actually, you really do it for Little Greet's sake, right? For his sake, he didn't want to disturb his father-in-law and mother-in-law, so he wanted to give them a relatively stable sleeping environment. The Lord of Thunder listened patiently for half an hour, but Diamond showed no intention of stopping, and even showed no signs of taking a breath. This moment is just like that moment. When he was young, he traveled across the continent alone, and while traveling in the Orc Kingdom, he met a chattering companion. At that time, I couldn't beat him, I couldn't block the guy's mouth, so I had to endure his spitting. So how long can you hold on without collapse? He asked suddenly. Golden Dragon Diamond paused and was overjoyed. Are you planning to go up? Golden Dragon Diamond jumped to his feet. He stopped nagging, and just stared at the Lord of Thunder with a pair of pure golden eyes, waiting for his answer. Now, look at Norrell's progress. The Lord of Thunder looked into the distance with his hands behind his hands, feeling the ups and downs of the natural power over there. In recent times, the fluctuations of natural forces have become more and more gentle, more and more condensed, and even a little bit like freezing. Spring brings birth and summer grows, autumn harvests, and winter hides. When it has gone through a complete cycle and is full of vitality again, it should be Norrel's time to take that step. Maybe we have to wait for a full moon night? The elves are the children favored by Lady Silvermoon. On a full moon night, under the moonlight, will the probability of success be greater? I feel that she is getting closer and closer to becoming a legend. When she starts to impact the legend, I must be there during the entire transformation process. But before that, it shouldn't be difficult to take some time away for half a day. One day? Or even half a day. That's not enough. Golden Dragon Diamond was delighted at first, and then shook his head quickly. It takes a day to fly up and down again. When you fly up, you still have to fly out of the world barrier, you still have to fight, and you still have to go boom boom boom. Even if you cast spells fast and don't need to meditate to supplement, the time on the road is not enough. Save it? Then it's up to you. The Lord of Thunder leaned back slightly and crossed his arms. Anyway, I can leave for one day at most, that is to say, 24 hours at most. If I spend more time on the road, I will have less time to fight. If I spend less time on the road, I will have more time to fight. He suddenly evoked a narrow smile and patted Diamond on the shoulder. My friend, it's up to you. How many enemies I can kill depends on how much effort you can put in. The golden dragon Diamond ran away crying. Is there a way to quickly travel back and forth between the ground and Sky Dragon City? Of course there is. As long as a portal is set up from the ground to the top of Dragon City, the Lord of Thunder can complete the round trip in an instant. The problem is, even he doesn't have this authority. There are basically no legendary second-level dragons. Within Sky Dragon City, different dragons have different permissions for teleportation, long-distance teleportation, and fixed-point teleportation. Every time you add a permission, you need to go through a long process. First, the Elders Council and the legendary dragons vote to determine that a certain compatriot is strong enough to take on more responsibilities. Then, use the magic circle to lock his breath and his spell fluctuations. Finally, the defender of the Mystic Lock, to be precise, the legendary third-level dragon who was in charge of the Mystic Lock during this period, made adjustments in the Mystic Lock Center. This area can be teleported, but that area cannot be teleported. From this location to that location, this portal can be used, but other portals cannot be used. As for teleporting from outside Sky Dragon City to inside Sky Dragon City and then out again, this authority will never be given easily, let alone to outsiders. Otherwise, the door of Sky Dragon City is wide open. One will come here today and stir up trouble, and another one will come tomorrow and grab a dragon egg and leave. Can't the Dragon Clan survive the peaceful days? But now, the Lord of Thunder has made it clear that he wants this authority. No, that's fine. Anyway, it's the Dragon Clan that's anxious, not him. It's time to try to convene a meeting of elders again. Trying to quarrel again. I have to go visit each of my companions one by one, the second and third level dragons one by one. He likes to chat, not quarrel. It's not like asking for help everywhere. Why are you torturing him like this? Alas, when the Lord of Thunder traveled to Dragon Island, he decided not to meet him or invite him to Dragon Island. They were obviously high-level legends. Why is he being tortured now? Go scold them. I can't get out of this tone without scolding him severely. Golden Dragon Diamond ran up and down, for 3 consecutive days, and finally obtained the teleportation authority for the Lord of Thunder. From the designated location in the Thunder Lord's territory, they are teleported to their residence in Sky Dragon City. They enter and leave from here. As for Princess Norrel's authority, look, there is a big difference in power fluctuations between high-level spellcasters and legendary powerhouses. It's not appropriate to invite her out now. Wouldn't it be better to wait for her to complete her advancement and get another certification? Then dash. What? I'm borrowing your good words. After the portal was built, the Lord of Thunder was invited to go up twice. Each time, he bombed indiscriminately, blasting dozens of times without stopping, forcing Black Wind to retreat far away. After 2 times, the natural fluctuations at the place where Princess Norrell retreated became more and more concentrated, to the point where they almost disappeared. The Lord of Thunder also began to stay close to him, staying outside to guard and feel. Until the moonlight became scarce and a beam of moonlight shone brightly, a strange fluctuation suddenly surged between the 2 ancient trees standing opposite each other in the valley. It was clear that the sky was clear, but suddenly there was a storm and dark clouds gathered. Tick-tock, tick-tock, the rain fell on the thatched roof of Princess Norrell's retreat. Suddenly, there was a thunder and lightning pierced the sky. Lord of Thunder! My wife was struck by lightning. It wasn't me. I swear, it's not me. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1645. Mighty thunder surged down. The wind was blowing, and the heavy rain wet the clothes. The Lord of Thunder stood motionless, looking at the location where the lightning struck, with no intention of putting up a defensive shield for himself. Since becoming a magician, he has almost never missed an opportunity to observe thunder. Even though he became famous for his thunder and lightning magic, all the way up to now, even the legendary title is Lord of Thunder. However, there is a big difference between naturally occurring thunder and lightning and magic-induced thunder and lightning. Watch it once, and you will gain insights. Watch it once, and you will have one more opportunity to make progress. However, at this time, the Lord of Thunder had no intention of observing the thunder and lightning itself. He carefully spread out his mental energy and surrounded it around the hut. He didn't dare to get close, for fear of disturbing the natural atmosphere and affecting Norrell's advancement, so he could only observe the surroundings from a distance. Feel the subtle changes in the power of nature at the moment the lightning strikes. Destruction, and rebirth. The violent, everything-destroying aura fell, and a little bit of life came out. It's extremely subtle, almost undetectable under the raging lightning, but it's extremely tough, getting stronger bit by bit. Like grass seeds buried deep under the ice and snow, in response to the first spring thunder, the seed coat breaks through, takes root and sprouts. Is Norrell also in this process? The breath is condensed to the extreme, silent to the extreme, and then goes through the process of germination and growth again. Through this process of stretching, let the natural breath refresh your whole body again, and work hard to reach the legend. In the hut, Princess Norrell hugged her knees, curled up in a ball, and had been sleeping for a long time. Her breath is peaceful and secluded, like the seed sleeping soundly in the soil and under the snow in late autumn and midwinter. There seems to be no movement at all, and the connection with the surrounding nature and even the emerald dream has been severed. If someone stayed by her side, they would notice that her breathing was extremely slow, and it would often take a minute or two to see her chest rise and fall. However, when the lightning fell, Princess Norrell's aura began to revive little by little. Ascend, unfold, expand. The legendary maple tree servilely rustled, moved to the left, and then moved again, trying to make enough room for the elf princess. After moving half a mile, she still felt that it was too close. The power of the elf princess could still affect her. He simply pulled out the roots of the tree, ran wildly, and climbed to the top of the mountain. Looking up, the ancient elf tree brought by the elf princess turned into a ship to carry people like her. It also followed her to the top of the mountain on the right, facing her from a distance. Ah, it turns out she is not the only one, no, a tree, who thinks that the elf princess's advancement will be very large, and needs to make room. The legendary ancient tree can move its position, but other plants in the valley cannot. The spring thunder rang and the spring rain poured down. The weeds in the valley sprouted their buds one by one, and the shrubs took out their young leaves one after another. Seen from a distance, the entire yellow, decayed, and cold valley seemed to be brushed by a gentle hand and instantly covered in green. Even the dried thatch in the hut where the elf princess lives is tinged with green. The leaves are turning green, the stems are tall and straight, and even little flowers are blooming here and there. The Lord of Thunder's attention instantly tightened. The surrounding vitality has begun to boil, and the spring has begun to return. So, where is Norrell? Where's Norrell? Princess Norrell is still hiding quietly in the hut. No matter through the window lattice or through the door, she could not be seen. However, the surrounding natural power is becoming clearer, more transparent, and more pure. The Lord of Thunder's mental power was only slightly spread out, but he felt that his power was out of place inside, like a black thread in a transparent white crystal. He could only withdraw it, and then withdraw it again. At this time, you must not pollute the surrounding power, as it will affect Norrell's advancement. The power was not strong, and when the high-level nature walker attacked with all his strength, the whole forest echoed, and the tree man directly pulled out the tree roots and ran wildly to follow. The area is not very wide, and it does not even occupy the valley. It only has a circle with a diameter of less than 20 meters around the thatched house. However, the thunderstorm in the sky stopped at some point. The dark clouds turned pure white, and among the pure whiteness, there was a slight hint of green. From a distance, it looks like a huge green marshmallow floating above the thatched house, and even the sunlight reflecting down it is green. This is the Emerald Dream. Idion held the moon blades in both hands and stood vigilantly on the commanding heights around the valley, overlooking the hut. The voice of the legendary warrior was full of disbelief. The Emerald Dream has come to this world? Ash, have you seen it? I haven't seen. Ash Moonsong stood on a high place on the other side of the valley, her pointed ears twitching, chatting with Idion through the breeze brought by the communication technique. She turned into a leopard for a while, ran around the mountain, and then lay down to smell the wind. After a while, he turned into a peregrine falcon, spread his wings, and flew around the entire valley. After a while, he turned into a lynx again, carefully descended to the bottom of the valley, twitched his nose and smelled carefully, then ran up and transformed into a human again. She has been guarding the fertile forest for so long, watched so many nature walkers advance, and even watched the first prince ascend to legend, but she has never seen anything like this. I have never seen a princess like this. You don't come over. Ashu Isong suddenly transformed into the form of a peregrine falcon and soared into the sky. She cut through the sky like a sharp arrow, rushed out of the clouds, spread her wings and stopped in front of a giant dragon, and let out a threatening cry. The princess is advancing. Don't interrupt. Ah, little girl, we are just watching. Emerald Dragon Tana flapped her wings slightly and floated in the air. The rich breath of life emanates from her body, with a fragrance of vegetation. After all, that is a nature walker, and the nature of power is relatively close to ours. Okay, let's just look here. If we can't pass, it's right here. She retreated one hilltop, then another hilltop, and when she saw that the peregrine falcon no longer chased her away, she lay down quietly. Tana had been to the Mage Tower many times for her daughter's pregnancy. She also knew Ashu Isong, a nature walker, and didn't mind her obstruction. Besides, not only the guards of the Wizard Tower, but also the owner of the Wizard Tower. Not to mention, this elf princess who is in the process of advancing is also the wife of a third-level legend. She lay down peacefully, feeling the changes in the natural atmosphere nearby. Suddenly something moved in my heart, and when I raised my eyes, another green cloud came across the sky. It's a green dragon. It's the legendary green dragon Galway. Sure enough, he came too. Ah, that sour smell that belongs to dense forests and swamps is really disgusting. Look, the peregrine falcon flew over, negotiating and blocking, the green dragon was driven so far away. It's 2 hills further away than her. Hey hey. I said the green dragon is not welcome. Look at where you have been driven. Among all the dragons, the only one allowed to get close, or in other words, the only one who could stand at the same distance as the Lord of Thunder, was the time dragon Sains. He showed his original body, lying on the ground at the mouth of the valley. The force of nature blew through the dark gray scales, as if it had no effect on it, neither providing vitality nor robbing power. This time dragon seems to be suspended in the gap of time. The existing power of this world cannot affect him in the slightest as long as he is not willing. He spread his wings to lie as flat as possible, and stared at the hut with his hourglass-shaped pupils. Ah, how beautiful, this wave of time! Another being who is challenging himself, challenging the whole world, and wanting to leap forward in the river of time. So beautiful! So beautiful! With the hut as the center, the river of time meanders, branches out and intertwines into a network. This is what Impact Legend is like. Every step and every choice will bring different disturbances and make destiny go in different directions. Especially the girl in front of me. The river of time in her body has been disturbed more than once. But now, on Dragon Island, thousands of miles away from Elf Island, she chooses to challenge the legend. This fate has already gone in an inexplicable direction, and only the person involved can control it. Sains, the time dragon, was delighted to see it. Outside the mouth of the valley, the people of the natural god cult, whose sight and even the extension of their spiritual power were blocked, dared to be angry but did not dare to speak. They could only turn in one direction and another. Please pay attention to your understanding. Elder Knox made the decision to stop all experiments and led all the priests of the nature order around the mouth of the valley. In ancient times, much of our understanding of nature came from the elves, and from the teachings of the elves, for thousands of years, although everyone has gone their separate ways, their natural magic is still worth learning. Look, such a strong natural aura, the key is that it is so pure. All the plants and creatures in the entire valley are unified under that aura. The key to resonance with nature is this: to tolerate their differences and grasp their commonalities. The purer the commonalities are, the more it can leverage a large range of nature with a very small force. The students observed, felt, and nodded almost obsessively. Greet also stood among them, but frowned slightly. Flowers, trees, fungi and algae, insects, fish and shrimps, birds and animals. I want to capture what they have in common and resonate with the entire nature. It's not necessarily necessary to go back to the beginning of life, to the moment when life originated, right? How dangerous it is for the natural walker who has advanced to the legendary level. If one doesn't grasp it well, it won't be assimilated into nature, turning into wind, water, flames, or big trees. If it's not done well, it will turn into protein or a trilobite. Wife, please hold on. It doesn't matter whether the advancement is successful or not, no matter what, you have to live.